Hello to you that watch this video. So here what we try to do is to be able to play Roger, that is an old game for a client, with an Xbox controller. So what we will do is we are going to use Python to be able to simulate joystick and simulate keyboard. So to do that, you will need Python, vJoy, and some library to understand what is an XInput device. Okay. So here, what we are doing is that I did uninstall Python just to be sure. And now I'm reinstalling the new version of Python on the PC. Okay. So here we are. So I have installed Python. I hope it's working, but to be sure, I will need to restart the computer. Because when you install something, sometimes you need to restart to be sure that everything is all right. So I will restart it. To be able to play this old game called Roger, you will need to simulate a joystick. To do that, you have two solutions. The first one is to build a real joystick and plug it on the USB, or you can use vJoy. That is a software that will make believe Windows that you have a joystick. vJoy. The stuff is that vJoy is a really old one, and some old don't work, some too new don't work, so you need to find one that is working correctly. I did try to make it work with C#, but the problem is that the code of C# is
Votre appareil est désormais connecté à MSI.
a bit hard, a bit rough, and it's really not easy to maintain with time. And Python is perfect to maintain in time this kind of connection between Python and vJoy. So what you will need to do is to go on the website of vJoy and install it. The stuff is that to be sure I don't lose all that, because vJoy evolved with time, I have in my Git repo, I will do a public one for you. I have the vJoy XD like this. So I have a rar, an executable. Never just keep the executable, because sometimes Windows think it's a virus and delete it. So I have a rar to keep it, an exe, and the link of where I did download the version that was working for me. So this version. There's plenty of one. This is the one I'm using for the moment. Okay. So now that we have installed Python, we need to open my script. That is in it's not this repo, but it will be this script. That is called Windows Xbox vJoy double-sided. Like this. And to be able to use it, we will need this that simulates a keyboard, this that simulates a vJoy device. And to do that, we will need to install package on your PC. So Windows R, CMD for command. Then you copy paste this here. And it did install the XInput that now it can understand what is a Xbox controller. Xbox controller is XInput. Now we need him to understand what is vJoy. So we'll do py install vJoy like this. Ta-da. So now he can understand what is vJoy. And we want him to be able to simulate keyboard. So we'll install PyAutoGuide that has plenty of stuff to simulate keyboard, mouse, and stuff like this. So it's installing the stuff. And like this. I won't do the installation of vJoy, because basically just you go here, you download, you install, and then when it's installed, you restart your PC and you will have it. But what you need to understand is that here I click on vJoy, configure vJoy, yes. And here in vJoy, you really need to have two controllers. So here they need to be green and green. So when you will start with one, and you need to add one, add two. Because the stuff is that on this old game, there is a bug when you have the first controller. And to avoid having the bug on this old game, because we cannot change the code, I created a second one. And by creating a second one, the bug linked to the first one, but he still listened to the second one, and we can still play the game. So it's a fix, and that's what happened. I mean, old game, old game. And that's how I managed to overpass this bug. So you need two of them. Okay, so now he can understand everything with Python. So technically, if I open Python like this, we want to open the Python editor. How can we EDL? So this is an editor of code. You technically can run the Python script, but if I have an error, I want to be able to debug it easily. So I will open it from here. Like this. Okay. So here's my code. Up. So if I press run, like this. Up. As you can see, I have here my joystick that is moving around. I have the button that can be clicked, the trigger that work like this, the button here. So this script allows you to unbug a bit what's happening here. Okay. So now that we have the script running, here you can have a small debug of what's happening here. Okay. And I will explain the code later. Now let's see what it gives in the game. So we go back here. I launch the game I need to remap. What we do is called remapping. So it's taking some input and inject other input to be able to play a game that is not designed to be played with those input. So remapping. So here, I had the authorization to show the game from Sebastian. So here I'm just not showing the game for the game. I'm showing the game to show how we can remap, how we can use Python to be able to play all game that is not designed for the input we try to use. So here we have two modes, one that is playable with not be able to crunch and not be able to interact with both hands. We want the second one here to be able to fully play the game. We said that we agree to play with a joystick like this. Load. Pop up. We wait that it's loading. Like this. Okay, so we are in the game. As you can see, the game should not be playable, but here what happened is that my tool here will simulate the joystick and send some vJoy instead, and simulate when I press some buttons, some keyboard like control to be able to play the game. So here, I will do that. Okay, so here, as you can see, I can move from left to right. I can move from left to right too here. I can interact with the two side button. Okay, and I can move around with the trigger here to be able to go here. If you use 2 times the trigger, it will go down, as you can see. But I also did that you can use B to be able to move around, okay? To crunch. Okay, here, as you can see, I come here, can interact like this. Like this. So in the game, you need to be able to take an object, like this, up. But as you can see, if you want to take a second one, you need to press Y, then A, and like this, you can switch from one another. Okay? So here we go here, up. I will interact. Why? Shit, it should not do that. Why is it doing that? Okay. Up, here, Y. Up, I put it here. And I close the stuff. Ta-da! And basically that's all. So as you can see, we can play an old game that is not designed to be played anymore. So it was designed to be played with a controller on the side, but the controller is not available anymore. So that's why I'm doing the Xbox one. And if you want to do your own one, what you can do is you create an Arduino that look like a Xbox controller, and then you create your own controller with it. So yeah, let's see a bit how the code works now that we know that everything is working all right. Just for the fun of it. Really hit a fork. Okay, so you understand the idea. So now that you understand the idea, let's go back to the code. Okay, so I will maybe cut the sound like this. Let's see a bit how the code works. In terms of the code, okay, what we have here, we say we need all those libraries to be able to work. Time, it will allow us to do some frame. Auto guide, it allows you to make fake inputs, fake joystick, and C type, I don't remember, somewhere I'm using it. I did not code everything because I did like 10 scripts before I will succeed to make this work, because I have plenty of other solutions that I'm presenting in other video. And what I did, because I'm not a Python developer, I used ChatGPT to give me some hint of how I can code stuff. And so, for example, this part, I did not code it. It's ChatGPT that coded it. And that's why I don't understand all that, because it's UI elements. It's basically, we do a class. In the construct of the class, we create some interface to be able to say we have those to be able to debug. And then we use it a bit later, so I don't understand all that. But here we have something important. So what I'm doing here, I'm saying I need to create for vJoy something that will communicate with vJoy. And so I say I want to create a communication between me and the second device. So you have the first and the second. Here we start at 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to speak with the second one. I create a class that will allow me to send some information, and we are good here. We'll use it later. In the game, what do we need to do? We need to be able to set if what happened is that maybe I need to be able to say I only want the left, I only want the right. So what I did here is just two scripts that allowed me to say, okay, I'm a left guy or I'm a right guy. But I'm not using it so much here. We need to be able to use the cross. So here, when you move here, you want to move the joystick. And so you receive the value of Microsoft, and you need to convert it to a vJoy one. So here, what happened is that I receive this value that is less 1 to 1. And so here I do, to be able to have a vJoy one, you need one that goes from 0 to 32,000. So what I do is that I take the less 1 to 1, I add 1 to move it on the 0 to 2, then I multiply by 0.5 to make it between 0 and 1. And when I have 0 and 1, I multiply by 32,000 to be able to send to vJoy this information. We send it on the X and the Y axis, and like this, we can move vJoy in the game. And we use the vJoy we just created earlier to be able to move that. To be able to crouch, what happened is that you need to press quickly to later. So you can do it like this here. And the charm move is somewhere on the top, I suppose. I don't remember where I did put it. Charm move, next. Ah, okay, it's an old one. So this one is useless. I can remove it. But I use it a bit later. So if you want to interact with an object, so touch it and stop to touch it, okay? In the game, the control to do that is control left. You know, the small control on the left of the keyboard. And to stop, you release the control left. But the stuff is that when you press Control, it means that every mapping of the keyboard is changing, so you can make some mistake. So as Interact just need me to click and that's all. What I'm doing here is that I say I will just click and release, and the game will understand that, and we are good. So I will mostly use this one than the other one. Okay? Now, if you want to move, you need to say to the joystick of vJoy that the button number 1 is press. And then to stop, that the button number 1 is not pressed. And that's how we write that in vJoy with Python. Okay, so now we can move, we can interact. We also need to change mode. So in the old game, the developer did a vJoy situation where you can move with a joystick, and a keyboard situation to be able to debug. So it's not to be used, but to debug. And the stuff is that in the debug mode, there is 2 options that are available, but not in the vJoy one. And it is crouch and switch hand. So a dirty solution I found is to be able here to, we go in the debug mode, we press shift to be able to crouch, I don't know how we pronounce that, and I come back in the mode of vJoy. So it's ugly, but it works, so cool. But in case it's in the wrong situation, you need to have a button on your Xbox to switch mode. And that's what F3 do here. Okay, so I can switch mode. I can now crouch, and I can ugly switch mode, and I can switch hand here. Control left is the switch hand situation. Okay, so now I think we have all our actions. So it's here just for me to test. So now we have all the action we want to do in Python. Cool, let's start. So Python is a thread. So in the thread, a thread it means something that is running. And we don't want the thread to leave except if we want it. So we say, could you run all the time? Okay. And every time you come back in a loop, you will check if you have a new event that we want to interpret from the Xbox. Okay. So get event. In those events, we say each event, could you give it to me? I will check what I do. And here we say, okay, which controller from which controller did we receive? Because there is 4 controllers, we want just the first one to work. So here we say, okay, could you give me the controller? Then we check the event. Here it's just a connected event that say, okay, it's okay, we are connected. Here it's deconnected, stick move, stick right, stick left. So apparently here, if we have an event with a stick, we can draw it. So here is the drawing stuff. But us, what we want to do is to use this and send it to the vJoy. So we say, if the event is a joystick one, can you convert it to and send it to vJoy to simulate the joystick? Okay. So it's over there, and it's sending the events. Now, if it's the right one, same. We want the joystick to be able to move the other one. We have the luck that it's not sending all the time to an event, because if it was sending all the time to an event, we would have to do a left and right situation to be able to not have conflict between the both of them. Because if this one is not used, maybe there is an event that will come and spoil, but here it's okay. So now that we can move, we want to be able to interact. As you can see here, I received the trigger. And I put a print to be able to see the value of the trigger. And when you use the print, you see that it's 0 to 1 and 0 to 1. So what we do is we create a variable of sensibility here. That is over there. And what we say is that how many % do we need to move to be able to say, okay, it's moving. And here I said 0.05%. So if it's just a small press, it's enough to be able to move around. Okay. So that's what we do here. We said if it's a left trigger or a right trigger and it's over the sensibility, then move, else you stop. Okay. And the library of the XInput here is sending event only when it's changing. So here you won't have a spam of this, except when you're moving around. Now, we have the button that I press. I need the button that I press. What do we need? We need the left shoulder and the right shoulder. So we call that the left and the right shoulder. And what happened here is that if we press one of them, we want to interact. And so interact will do tick, 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 tick to be able to interact. The stuff is that, as I said before, we have a situation here where we need to be able to switch from keyboard to joystick in case the user needs it. And so here we said that these both, back and start, will be to be able to switch mode, to come back to keyboard or joystick. So just keep in mind that. We could use the arrow, but we are not using it here. If you want to use it, feel free to use it. And here we have the button A, X, B, Y. So A, I said, okay, we will move if we press. But here, as you can see, we are checking if it's press. But we also need to check if it's release. So as you can see, I start in the press and I have move stop on the other side. Okay. I don't have interact on the other side because interact is just tuluk and not tuk or tuk. Okay. So here, if it press A, we start to move. If it's release, we stop to move. If press B, then B is here, we crouch. So tuk tuk. If it press Y, the top, it will switch the hand. And if it press X, then it will interact with the object. Okay. And ta-da, I think we are almost done. So yeah, so that's how the script is working. It's really basic. It's not as complicated as the other solution I found, but that's the idea. You just have an Xbox, you read the Xbox, you send the controller to vJoy and some to the keyboard, and ta-da, you are done. So I hope this video helped you. If you if you have any question, feel free to ask them in the description. The code will be in a public Git that I will put in the description. And if you want me to remap some of your game or remap or some of your old game or stuff like that, feel free to try. And if you don't succeed, to contact me. On that, may the code be with you. See you in the next video. Bye.